Fellas, AC here. Welcome to another review. Now, the last video was obviously a request from one of my best friends, and it seems like it was a great idea because everybody has liked it. People have really responded greatly to the idea of an honest, critical review. In fact, Victor Wong, the person who owns Zoologist, watched the video and he left a comment as well. So I think it shows that, genuine people really can take criticism. And I think if you watch his review comment, you will get an idea. He's a genuine sort of a guy. So I was very critical of Zoologist, but in a hilarious sort of way. And it was purely accident. I was extremely disgusted by that fragrance, and apparently the words I used was very, very comical. Everybody loved it. So I don't know whether I'll be able to repeat that feat, but I'll try and do, as I promised, 5 designer fragrances which I was quite disappointed with. So here we go. Number one is a fragrance from a house which I love the most, Guerlain. Now Guerlain is on a greasy pole, I think, and the first fragrance is Guerlain Ideal Cologne. Now I own Ideal EDP. I love Ideal EDP. It's not as great as the Guerlains, but I like it. But the cologne is so flat. I'll tell you what it feels like. It feels like you've applied essential oil. Virtually no projection, no development. It just sticks to your skin like a tick and sits there for whatever, 3-4 hours, 5 hours. And it has literally no personality. So literally, it's like one of those bored employees who can't be motivated to perform. It's exactly like that. So Ideal Cologne was an absolute disaster. And I sold it. And when I sold it for half the price with only 5 ml missing. So you can imagine there's no resale value. It's a fragrance which I think has zero potential to lift or carry Guerlain forward. I think Thierry Vassa and Delphine Jelk are just, they're on a bandwagon to produce more and more flankers of Ideal. They show no enthusiasm, no creativity to carry the Guerlain designer line forward. It seems as if they've completely run out of steam, and it's a disaster, basically. They released one last year, which was equally bad in terms of performance, very uninspired. It's just, Guerlain designer house is a disaster. It's a sorry tale, but I hope Thierry Vassa watches this video. I don't think he'll be able to do much. I think it's LVMH who are pulling the strings. And I think, Thierry Vassa is just going along, waiting for his retirement. It's very sad to see Guerlain go down that route. Guerlain designers used to be amazing at one point in time, and everybody knows this, right? There are a lot of Guerlain fans. So that was number 1. Number 2 in the list is a fragrance which everybody praises, and I really can't understand why it doesn't perform on me. And some people have suggested that I think it's been reformulated. I also think it's been reformulated. It is Bentley Intense, Bentley for Men Intense. I hope, I'm doing it in natural light. I hope you can see this, but it's very, very easy to see this juice. This fragrance. Now everybody praises, well, most guys praise this for its performance. On me, it's abysmal. It really sits there just like Ideal, but it doesn't smell as boring as Ideal. Ideal is very boring. This one is not boring, but it just sits there. Literally doesn't do anything. Yeah, doesn't project, doesn't last. I get probably 3 to 4 hours and that's it, it's gone. But I'm keeping this in hope that once the juice matures, it's been 3 months, another 3 months, if it matures, it might change. I have hopes because I think 80% of the people will say that this fragrance is a beast, and 20% of the people, unfortunate like me, will say this has been reformulated. Whatever, it has zilch performance. It absolutely does nothing for me. It's a very nice fragrance in case you haven't smelt. It's supposed to have notes of tobacco, leather, rum. So it's a boozy, sweet leather fragrance which has beast mode projection. Nothing on me. So that's number 2 in the list in terms of fragrances which disappointed me. I'm hoping this will work. I'm hoping that this will change. Some fragrances do. One of the fragrances in my experience which did that on me was Lalique Encre Noire à l'Extrême. I kept it for about 6-7 months and then it became fantastic. It's one of my absolute favorite GPs. Next on the list is a fragrance which I sold, but I have got a flanker. So the fragrance I got a flanker of is Terre d'Hermès. This flanker that you're seeing at the moment is Terre d'Hermès Eau Intense Vetiver, which is the latest release last year. I enjoy this. This is fantastic. But Terre d'Hermès is a disaster on me. And Terre d'Hermès, particularly Parfum, yeah, the EDP. Now I'll tell you why it's a disaster. In fact, that's one fragrance and the other one is Cartier Declaration, because of which I can't stand Jean-Claude Ellena. I think his work is mostly in that area where I don't fall. I really can't stand his work. And I've smelled many more of his fragrances and I'm really happy he's left Hermès. Hermès is one of my favorite houses. I've got about 4 fragrances now, including this one, 5 from that house. And Jean-Claude Ellena's work is none of them, of those 5. Jean-Claude Ellena, in my mind, is a mad scientist. And he creates creations which are hard to fathom, understand, enjoy. I mean, Cartier Declaration has this aqueous body odor type smell, right? Okay, that's fine. But he's carried that through in every big fragrance I've smelled. Entire Hermessence line, you know. So I'm talking about Cuir d'Ange. Can't understand it, you know. It is a nice fragrance, but the initial bit is awful. Then, what's the other one? Ambre Narguilé. Can't understand it. I mean, what is it? Is it supposed to be a fragrance? It's just very esoteric, watery, fluidy. It's just not my thing. So I'm glad he's left Hermès. So what is the problem with Terre d'Hermès? See, Terre d'Hermès, and including this one, is a synthetic composition. And I don't have a problem with synthetic composition as long as it doesn't bother my nose. What Terre d'Hermès does is it's like taking a toothpick and poking into your nose. It's that sharp. See, there are many sharp fragrances I don't like, but I despise Terre d'Hermès, EDP or whatever, Parfum. Reason being that it just attacks your nose incessantly. And it's got notes like, you know, shiso, this, that and the other, dirty orange, earthy orange. All that I don't get. All I'm getting is a massive dose of Isoe Super. And I've got many fragrances which have Isoe Super. Baldessarini Ultimate, which I have reviewed. And I enjoy it because there's a little bit of softness in it, a little bit of leather in it. So it makes it palatable. This one, not this one, but Terre d'Hermès, is just too strong. It just keeps attacking your nose and you're thinking, you know what? I'm getting a headache now. And that there are many fragrances like that. For example, Karl Lagerfeld Classic. Now that was such a rubbish fragrance in terms of attacking my nose that I just couldn't deal with it. So yeah, that's my problem with Terre d'Hermès. It's number 3 in the list. Number 4 on the list is a fragrance which is named exactly as it should be. It's called Diesel Bad. And by God, it's bad. It's an awful fragrance. I did the mistake in my early days of spraying it on paper. And when I sprayed it on paper, I was quite impressed by the opening. It smelled a bit like a spicy 1 million. So I bought it. I paid shop prices, almost retail. But then when I started wearing it, I just couldn't get my head around it. It was awfully composed, as if it was unfinished. It was very uninspiring and seriously bad scent. And then I realized, I mean, they've named it bad. It is supposed to be bad. So why should I have any expectation? It was horrible, right? So I sold it. And yeah, Diesel Bad, I think you'll find very difficult to get people to praise Diesel Bad. It's one of those fragrances which is named exactly as it should be. Okay, moving on to the last fragrance. Now, last fragrance is a serious disappointment, guys. I'll tell you, I've been in the game for about 22 years now. My first proper, with my own money, the fragrance I bought was in 1997 when I left university. Now, when I left university, I was basically buying fragrances in the 20-25 pound range. This fragrance that I'm going to talk about is the first fragrance for which I exceeded my budget. And I still remember the time, the day when I bought it. Reason being, I was listening to my favorite band, Oasis, on my Walkman. That's how long ago it was. In my favorite shop, Selfridges. and I paid £57 for 100 ml of Dior Fahrenheit. Boy, what a fragrance that was. It must have been September, yeah? Or, yeah, it must have been late August, September, because it was the last bank holiday. And I still remember the fragrance because I associated myself with that fragrance. It was one of those fragrances which had amazing charm, a lot of mystery, really mean fragrance, but very nice, mean and nice, So okay, here it is. Here is an example of that. Now, that was a fragrance which I cherished. The cold days of England, sometimes I used to wear to work under my shirt. And I remember coming back home in the tube and I got a whiff of it. I would think, what an amazing fragrance I've been wearing. And I have this old habit of wearing my fragrances under my shirt. It's my private business, especially if it's a challenging scent. Now what they've done with Fahrenheit. So Fahrenheit used to have this amazing leather and amazing gasoline note, which used to stick around. And then it used to develop this green woody facet. It was a very interesting fragrance. It went on for a long time and it had amazing sensation. I still remember the first thought to me was, it reminded me of a rocket scientist working in a forest. It has the smell of gasoline, high octane feel, and as if you're working in a forest. So woods rather, yeah? Woody, green smell, mossy smell. So that's the impression I had. Now what they've done is the current formulation, the gasoline doesn't stick around for a long time and the florals come up a bit more. So it's more of a floral, leathery, woody scent. Yeah, it is green, it has got those facets, but they are just completely quietened down. And I've heard there have been many formulations. I've heard that there are some harmful chemicals in Dior Fahrenheit which made it almost necessary to reformulate. But I've never read of anybody, dying from Fahrenheit overdose. It was a cock and bull story. I'll give you another example. What they've done to Fahrenheit now is they've brought out a bottle which looks rather rotund, and it's Fahrenheit Le Parfum. And Le Parfum sticks around on your skin for much longer. The current Fahrenheit doesn't stick for more than 6 hours. But the Le Parfum is like a beast mode. But what I don't like is they've added vanilla to the fragrance. There's no place for vanilla in Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit was never supposed to be nice. Fahrenheit was a mean, clear-cut, robust, on your face scent with a lot of attitude. What they've turned Fahrenheit into is basically a rotund, chubby, slap me if you like, kind of a fragrance. So this is the biggest travesty. They've destroyed the DNA of Fahrenheit. Yeah, and I'll tell you, the only Fahrenheit I own is Fahrenheit Absolute, because this is the only Fahrenheit which is worth owning. But this is also discontinued now, so I can't understand what's Dior's plan with masculine fragrances. I get the petroleum straight away, slightly powdery, but I get it straight away. This also has some vanilla, I believe, and fruitiness. So Dior basically killed off one of the most amazing fragrances they've created for men. So I'll give you another example. There's some brands which never play around with their formulation. They always maintain their formulation. Here is a fragrance. It's my most favorite leather fragrance. It's called Knizia 10. This is basically Austria's gift to us men. This was created in 1928, or maybe even earlier. And this fragrance, this has got no reformulation issues, man. You spray this, you will know that you're wearing a masculine, animalic leather, uncompromising leather with plenty of attitude. Why don't they have problems? Why don't they reformulate? Yeah, they don't. This thing has been going on for about 100 years. So I don't buy the story that raw materials, this, that, and the other are reasons why Dior formulated Fahrenheit or many of the other fragrances. I don't get that. I don't buy that story. It's very hard to understand and believe. Yeah. So those were the 5 designer fragrances which disappointed me the most. So which ones are the ones that have disappointed you? I'd love to know, and I'd love to know if you like this video. Take care. Bye-bye.